Kathleen Kennedy is still in charge of Lucasfilm.
Totally not angry.
Lucasfilm has commissioned and discarded almost a dozen scripts and projects in the last few years, like a kid with ADHD rummaging through a toy box and flinging action figures with missing limbs over his shoulder.
I'm not angry. I'm fine. I love it.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew is an innocent little kinetic bundle of action and suspense that scarcely rises above the level of Homage, and is in fact so assembled out of existing and pre-existing material, it's almost an homage to Homage. This scene, almost exactly the same from the never-ending story, set at breakfast, where a dad who was working hard after the boy's mother has died remonstrates tenderly with his son about not being a dreamer and focusing more. Exactly the same setup in this show. This boy Chunk from The Goonies, who was the fat, often scatterbrained sidekick to the sensitive boy main lead. This scene from Explorers, where two boys, the sensitive lead and the plump, nerdy sidekick, walk through their pleasantly clean neighborhood. This scene from Explorers, where one boy puts on a gas mask like Darth Vader, and the two of them have a pretend lightsaber duel. The same meta-reference to the property from these scenes in E.T. These scenes from Flight of the Navigator, where a 12-year-old boy discovers some sci-fi space thing in the woods when he tumbles down a slope. This scene from The Goonies, where they explore and then descend down a discovered hole or passage into somewhere mysterious and exciting. This scene from The Goonies, where Data uses his tech skills to aid their exploration, and on and on. Now, I'm a surly curmudgeon used to clawing the air in frustration at pretty much anything to do with modern entertainment, especially from the cesspool that is Lucasfilm. But my heart isn't so hardened that I can't enjoy this show a bit. Honestly, there's a lot to like. Star Wars under Disney has never produced anything with much charm or heart, save for a bit of cutesy swooning over Baby Yoda in the first season of The Mandalorian. And this would be an actual expression of some of the qualities of Star Wars that are charming. Yearning for something more, escapism, rollicking set pieces with a bit of humor, brisk pace, lavish Lucas-esque and Spielberg-esque tone and cinematography that works more often than it doesn't. A score that doesn't overpower and occasionally sounds like it has some character.
So now let's sit back and view.
The first episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew introduces a group of 4 adventurous children from the peaceful planet Adlin. Set in the same timeline as The Mandalorian, the children inadvertently embark on a perilous journey through a galaxy filled with dangers and mysteries after making an unexpected discovery. These kids, Wem, Fern, KB, and Neil, yearn for more than their mundane existence and are thrust into an adventure reminiscent of The Goonies and Stranger Things, but with a distinct Star Wars flavor. The plot unfolds with a gang of pirates, previously seen in The Mandalorian. Jude Law plays a mysterious figure who becomes relevant by the end of the second episode, hinting at a deeper narrative that will unfold throughout the series. It all seems fine and wholesome, and in fact there is a lot about the show that hardly ever aligns with what Disney is capable of. Immense resources used aptly. Jude Law shrewdly brought in as he settles assuredly into this new phase of his career as an appealing antagonist or mentor with an edge. And I feel that if I were a kid today, I would find him very magnetic and appealing as a character ideally suited to the Star Wars brand and feel. There's an amusing reference to the holiday special with the dance routine, for which I hope the original dancer's family receives some decent residual paycheck. CGI used damn well in an exciting speeder bike sequence through the woods, and a few other bits and pieces. If someone wanted to, they could grumble about the diversity and conspicuous absence of Caucasian boys in either the foreground or the background, a la the Acolyte trailer. The show was a bit cutesy and cloying, or second-rate in terms of the Star Wars aesthetic, because this show looks and feels more like a companion piece, a child-friendly diversion, vaguely analogous to the lower-quality, more saccharine, kid-orientated Ewok spin-offs of the 1980s. No one is really going to esteem this or denigrate it in any meaningful relation to quote-unquote serious canonical Star Wars, whatever the fuck that might even mean nowadays. No, it exists in its own little pocket, and I'm sure a ton of kids will like this immensely. It has even contoured the universe to reflect young people's lives, with devices so close to being iPads, they might as well actually be iPads. And anyway, let's all just be grateful it's not another goddamn show set on a desert planet. It all seems to be going swimmingly. Until it isn't. In Disney Star Wars, you were stirred by a resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female character in the sequel trilogy. And you reveled in the exploits of a resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female character in Ahsoka, supported by resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female Jedi and General characters. And you thrilled at the poignant determination of a resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female character in the Acolyte, whose children, brought into being by the Force and then born by her lesbian partner, are resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female characters. But what we've all been crying out for, and crossing all our fingers and toes for, is for Star Wars to at last bestow upon us a small girl who was a resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female character. At last, Kathleen Kennedy, with a wry smile at being a pushover, acting perhaps against her better judgment, but being a bit of a softie, has allowed us, the urgent and excited fanbase, to drag her by the arm, go limp with playful resistance, her neck drooping back, then tottering forward in our insistent tugging, with a rueful look of being a good sport, and consented to let the girls of Star Wars be showcased in a positive light, with one in particular being a resilient, stoic, naturally talented, plucky, resourceful, strong female character. And, because she's generous to a fault, Kennedy has given her immediately unendearing characteristics: a snub-nosed, sour-faced squint at whatever boys say, a slouching, own-the-place kind of posture, a prissy and strident enjoyment in teasing and running circles around the boys, being brilliant at all things technical, with her friend who is a cross between Star Trek Geordie LaForge, Star Trek Data, and Goonies Data, because Kathleen Kennedy has not been deaf to our pliant and yearning pleas for the issue of girls in STEM to be addressed forthrightly in Star Wars properties, and who is a brilliant, sassy speeder bike rider, and introduced as such, just like Sabine, and just as cool as this chick from the Book of Boba Fett. Disney, and perhaps Kathleen Kennedy especially, just seems to have this implacable, almost stubborn attitude about this. Female characters with an artificial awesomeness, overpowered and deliberately bristling with traditionally masculine traits and proclivities. Either the main focus, or nudging and bustling their way into being the main focus, displacing a nominal or ostensible male lead. It's getting hard to fathom now how on-the-nose keening it is, and the reduction of the males to overexcited, dithering, high-strung and bumptious figures, often less emotionally mature, coming off second best in exchanges, being sidelined in terms of decision-making and plot progression. There's something faintly off-putting and insidious about it, and you watch with an irked sense at almost every plot beat, wondering about the girls watching this same dynamic over and over, and how it might seep and collect in their subconscious, and the boys watching, and the 5th or 6th or 20th iteration of males or boys who are benign, irresolute, guileless, and always bested. It just doesn't feel good. You're watching the show, and you're doing your best to enjoy it, but you're also bracing and flinching at practically every exchange, as the same unappealing socio-cultural sparring is going on. It's an undercurrent of gender stuff that undermines the simple experience of watching something. Entertainment shouldn't inculcate this kind of subtextual wariness in a viewer. It kind of sucks balls, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, on balance, I think this is a wholesome and appealing show, and all those 80s properties I alluded to earlier are now, culturally, and through the sheer passage of time, so far removed from the present that referencing them and leaning heavily upon them feels sufficiently like one step in the realm of repurposing and one foot in the realm of foraying into a distant era of popular culture. It's fine. And in the modern era of Disney Star Wars, if we can get to "it's fine," that's something of a victory, or a kind of reprieve.